Welcome back to Cash and Sass, the podcast where we ditch the shame, talk real numbers, and build bold, bankable wealth without sacrificing who we are. I'm your host, Lisa Marie, fractional CFO, wealth mentor, and of course, the sassy wealth queen behind Transcendent Wealth Company. And if you're ready to scale with strategy, own your power, and finally feel wealthy in every sense of the word, then you're in the right place. Today's guest, and I'm so excited because we've been trying for a few months now to have this episode, and we are here. We're finally going to be able to have it. Yay! uh, Her name is Harriet Bratt. She is an international speaker, mentor, and a Firewalk guide who helps entrepreneurs own the stage, sell with confidence, and create massive impact. Harriet's story is one of facing judgment, rewriting money narratives, and learning to use her voice as a source of both wealth and empowerment. A woman after my own heart. Y'all, we could take some listens, okay? Because I know I'm going to be like taking it all in. This conversation is about money, mindset, and the fire it takes to step fully into your power as an entrepreneur. And I am sure you're going to love this one. So, without further ado, we're just gonna go ahead and dive in. Okay? Thank you for being a guest on my show. I'm so tickled to have you here. And one of the things that you've said, which I agree with you in a lot of the terms, but you've said that money doesn't bring happiness, but it does bring peace of mind and choice. How has that played into your journey?
Oh, big question to kick off. I love it. Well, first of all, let me just say, hey, of course, to everybody that is listening or watching. And thank you to you, Lisa. I've listened to some of your other episodes. This is a beautiful and powerful conversation that needs to happen in this world. So I respect you for having it. And I'm honored to be in this space having it with you. So how has that come to fruition? I think like many people, I've heard a lot of different stories, phrases, cliches around money. One of the biggest being money doesn't buy you happiness, right? But if we just take that at a really generic, basic level, and if we had hours, we could go super deep into this, but I know that we're going to cover different areas. So just at a more general level, in this day and age, unless you're someone that's like truly decided to take yourself off grid and live sustainably in the forest, everything that we are doing, like right here, right now, we could just call out internet to be able to be on this call, the device that we're on doing it, the light, the clothes that we're in, the water that we're drinking whilst we do it. Yes. Everything comes at that cost. So even if we don't go into abundance levels, if we just look at the day to day, your peace of mind, your being, your state, you want just an even more generic term, is affected by whether or not you are able to pay those bills, and even more so how you pay those bills, right? I've absolutely been that person that is like stressing. I'm getting bills through the mail saying overdue. And I can absolutely tell you that yes, there were areas in my life that I could be grateful for. There were areas of my life that I was happy in, but actually I was pretty stressed day to day, right? How am I going to pay this bill? How am I going to pay the rent? How am I going to have dinner tonight? Like whatever it might be. And as I grew and expanded my income and I was able to more easily pay those bills and then more, again, even at its basic level, I just started to see and notice that absolutely I'm not this material person. I'm not about money as everything in your life, but it is important. It does matter. And when we're able to take care, even more than that, when we're able to effortlessly and easily take care of those day-to-day bills, it does bring peace of mind. It does allow you to be more present in other areas of your life, which therefore it's not money buying you happiness, but it actually is a huge factor.
In some ways, you know what?
I used to hear, there you go.
Yeah, I used to hear that money doesn't make the world go round, and I'm like, yes, it does. And you're right, because when you don't have money or when you don't have a lot of it, and I've been there. Everybody who's listened to podcasts or knows me or has worked with me, I make it, my journey is very, very open. I've been through the foreclosure, the bankruptcy, lived on food stamps, been there, done that. And I know what it's like to not know how we're going to put food on the table or how we're going to pay certain bills. And you're absolutely right, Harriet. It's stressful. And when you're that stressed, it takes something out of you because that's where your focus is. And it's difficult to sometimes, I think when you're that stressed, it's difficult to see the good things. And something I practice daily, whether, life is happening or not, is to make sure that I'm looking for those signs. And, my coach would call them the signs from the universe. They call them wins and the signs and, just the nuggets that if we actually look for them, they're there. It's because we're focusing so much on the other things. And, you know, one of the things I say is that sometimes it's also not how much money you're bringing in, because if you can't manage, and please understand what I'm saying, I do know that sometimes there's not enough money to pay all the bills. Been there, okay? And if I would have known how to better manage it then when I started my business, I would have been better at managing it and still wouldn't have been broke a year after I started making the money I made, okay? My point is if you can't manage $30,000 that you're receiving in or $15,000 a month that you're receiving in, then you're not going to be able to manage $100,000 a month. I promise you, I've seen it time and time again. And it's our mindset. It's our nervous system, our mindset, and us not having a system that works for us. I do not say go and get no cookie cutter system. That's not what I teach. That's not what I help clients with. We create a system specifically for them. And I think that's really important. And that's one of the things we were saying. Like you even said, like, even when you started earning more, you noticed the same financial patterns. And that's kind of what I was going into, right? No matter what, you're still going to have the same. So what were some of your patterns? And how did you begin to break them? Because I think it's important for people to realize that it's not just me speaking in it and preaching to the choir.
No. I think you're absolutely spot on. And especially what you said, it doesn't matter what the number is. If you can't manage £100, let alone 30,000 or 100,000, the pattern is the same no matter what the number is. So for me, it was, and again, everyone's money stories are different, but generally we can categorize them into certain areas, right? And for me, I was absolutely like the spender, the roller coaster that would kind of survive on nothing and think here today, gone tomorrow, woo! And then be able to bring in, to start with obviously smaller amounts, but then as I've grown with my business, be able to bring in larger amounts and be like, yes, I've hit this number or I've done this. We're able to do that now. But of course, the pattern comes again, in the same way. If you spend 1,000, you spend 30,000, you spend six figures very easily. So for me, that was how it showed up. No matter the level that I was hitting, it was a very roller coaster in its nature. So I'd still find myself, and I think I heard a little bit from you then through the lines of your story. That realization of, you can still earn well and earn big, but if you haven't shifted your mindset, if you don't understand the value behind what you've been able to bring in, and if you're not at peace within your nervous system, then you're reactive rather than responsive to what you're doing. So it was a big shift for me, but it was absolutely like, if I'm able to do it, I really say anyone could do it. Wow, it was a roller coaster.
What's one of the shifts that you made that helped you be able to break the pattern?
I shifted the story is the real root of it. My understanding and first of all, awareness, right? The first step to any change is awareness. So noticing the pattern, but noticing it was something within me and it was something that I was able to change. And that started with my story. It started with how I viewed money, how I spent money, what I valued money as. Also, and for many people, this will sound strange, but I know for you, this is just your everyday talk, like building a relationship with money. And at the beginning,
did y'all hear that? Wait. Did y'all hear that? Okay, and I'm saying it for the people on the video and on the audio. Did you hear that? Building a relationship with your money. Okay? Because that is really, I sound like a broken record. That is so important. That is so, so important. And how did you do that?
I was just going to go on and say it, but let's say it again one more time. Building your relationship with money, just so it's not you every time, right? Back to that. And there's a beautiful, amazing book called Happy Money by Ken Honda, who happens to actually be a very
I
good.
love that book.
Yeah, it's amazing. And he's a good friend. And I will absolutely admit that he's been pivotal in supporting me in that shift. So he is one of the answers there, and the way that
Mm.
speaks to and has that perspective. So I started doing that through his book, through what he teaches, and through, of course, other conversations and other mentors. And I think I was very much in the mindset world already. I just hadn't applied it to money. So I needed to shift that story, perspective, narrative, and again, relationship with money. So again, just following those tracks, doing those day-to-day things, bringing awareness to how I spoke about it, how I treated it, being grateful for when I had it and what I was able to do with it. And I want to be really honest, because I think this will help some of your listeners. At the beginning, I didn't have a good relationship, and I really didn't value it. I was someone that was taught money was hard to come by. And yet I want to be really honest, because I don't think a lot of people speak about this. I had parents that were not. They kind of are now through the businesses that they'd run. But at the time, they were not well off with money. So I heard all of those stories about like money doesn't grow on trees. You're not living at a hotel, like all of these things. And yet, in my life, and I'm so grateful to them for this, I've had amazing support. But at the same time, every time I needed support, they bailed me out. And whilst that was kind, it also meant that I didn't value money. I just thought there was this quick fix answer. And
Mm-hmm.
only when they stopped doing that, and again, all these other areas, did I start to just really value money and build that relationship. And the biggest thing for me was going, instead of looking at it as money, going like fun tokens, experience tokens, life tokens. And it was such childish language. But for me, who had such a strong, like, oh, whatever, here today, gone tomorrow, don't value it, money's nothing, rich people are snobs, blah, 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 like
I
this.
can always go make more.
Yeah. And it just had to shift. So for me, just starting to value it and starting to speak about it in a way that excited me, fun tokens, travel tokens, experience tokens, that shifted and got me excited about it and valuing it, which in turn started building the relationship. So I'd say there was a few answers within there, but those are my biggest things.
Yeah,
And
well, I mean, those are
I guess
important though,
you as
right?
well.
Because I mean, you started showing gratitude and you started building the relationship by seeing those different things, right? And then, okay, looking at it as tokens and just looking at it differently does wonders. So often, and I've seen it myself when I rewrote my money story and did the shift. But a lot of times people have that fear of judgment shows up for many entrepreneurs, especially women. How did it impact you and what shifted?
You know, it's a funny one because I think I did a lot of work and a lot of healing around the fear of judgment before I started doing a lot of healing in my money journey. So by the time it came to kind of that piece of the puzzle with finances, I had so ingrained and embodied, and it doesn't mean that it didn't still show up, but on a day-to-day basis, and I could tell you a million stories on the other side of the page, but with money and the question you asked, by the time that showed up, I just like Marmite. Some people are going to like it, some people aren't. And I just was so ingrained in that that it didn't really bother me. I think my hardest one was more speaking with friends and family that had a very opinionated view of it. But actually, for me, and also I'm not the type of girl, like, yes, I've got a few lovely pieces. Yes, I do some amazing, wonderful experiences in travel, but I'm not like the really showy. And again, each to their own. But I'm not like, as a woman, I'm not heavily driven by fashion or clothes. So it was never about growing into the labels. Like if I wear a piece, I wear a piece. But if I wear something from a high street shop, amazing. Like that wasn't my mind. but the shift in like experiences, the way I travel, the hotels I was able to stay in, the restaurants you eat at, like those sorts of things I obviously up leveled in. And I think I just got to that point where I didn't care. I was so grateful and proud of what we've created, the way we've done it, the impact we've had by doing it, that hell, if the lifestyle comes with it, I'm going to embrace it and make the most of it, and trust and hope and support other people to do it too.
Well, and that's one of the things you said, that you shared how self talk impacts results. And so I think it's, a lot of times I think what happens is we end up talking bad to ourselves. And really, people aren't judging us, but we're talking bad to ourselves. And then we're seeing it as people's going to judge us. So, can you give us an example of when you shifted your inner voice, or shifting your inner voice, that it also shifted your outer reality?
Yeah.
Does that make sense what I'm asking?
Yeah, very much so. And I hope my response makes sense. First of all, the biggest story for me personally was to say it matters. Like to really value it and to say it matters, to shift from, oh, it doesn't matter, whatever, it'll be fine, to no, it matters. Secondly, really emotionally connecting to why it matters. Like, what would my life look like if I really truly valued money? If I was able to live in and expand in and continuously scale my abundance, what does that look like for me? What does it look like for my husband? What does it look like for our friends, our family, our nearest and dearest? What does that look like when someone's in trouble and you're able to reach out and support them effortlessly? Like, really emotionally connect with the outcome of what it is that I wanted to do. For me, those were the biggest areas. So the self talk was embracing the why, embracing what it looked like, embracing what it meant. And when I connected to the lifestyle, the meaningful moments that can happen through finance, through money, I was able to talk about money with a different filter instead of a disregard. Now it was just a natural part of creating the life that I wanted to live. So I think the biggest thing with self talk for me was changing from whatever, it doesn't matter, to actually it really matters. And you can have the most beautiful experience through being able to fund it. And it's
Mm,
not the heartbeat of life, but it funds many meaningful moments within that.
right. And it allows us to be able to make a bigger impact. I think that's important, right? I mean, we have to look at those things and be able to say, even my coach was like, if you stop here, what are some goals in your life, that you want to do? And I was like, I want to make an impact on this. I want to do it. And he was, okay, well, are you
Yeah.
going to be able to do that at this goal? And I was like, well, shit.
Yeah.
I was putting a cap on it. I was sabotaging myself from making money. So I was basically keeping me from being able to make the kind of impact and the difference that I want to make.
Yeah.
And we need to be able to honestly look at that in the mirror and say, wait, you know what I mean? That there's more. And okay, how does changing my relationship with money and having a good relationship and shifting that inner voice so the outer reality shifts
Yeah.
so that we can get to that goal of making, yes, making good money and being able to do the things that we want to do, whether that's travel. Listen, I'm not about Chanel bags, but if one of the things you want to do, go buy a Chanel bag, then for the love of God, make the money you want to make and go buy a Chanel bag. And,
Do you,
right?
boo?
Right. And here's the thing, being wealthy and what we feel important is, I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to take my girls places, and I want to be able to have money set aside for them. And I want to make a bigger impact. Okay. Well, money is what's going to make all of those things happen, whether we want to face it or not. That is what's going to make it happen. And so
Yeah, just show,
changing that
right?
relationship, huh?
I just wanted to jump in super quickly.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I love the role that you're on, and it's so true. And I heard you say this in another episode, but it was coming through so strong that I had to share it. It's not the money; it's the person behind it. Like that,
Yes.
to your
Amen.
question,
Amen.
that was a big shift for me. Like it's not
Mhm.
the money. The money is not good or bad. The
Whoever you
really
are,
in
right,
our
whoever
past.
you are before you're making a lot of money, the money is just going to amplify who you are.
Exactly.
So, if you're a naturally good person, then having more money is just going to amplify the things that you would do.
Yeah.
Money is not evil, it's the person behind it. Money's not good or bad. Again, it's the person behind it. So if you are a genuine good person and you genuinely want to help people, then the money is just going to amplify it. And that is something that I had to learn.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I didn't always have a great relationship with money. Quite the opposite, actually. I say we had a really big, huge love-hate relationship, okay? We don't anymore, right? I have a good relationship with money, and that was one of the things that I had to learn was that it amplifies who we are, and if I'm a naturally good person, then all it's gonna do is just allow me to do more good,
Yeah.
and that's what we want. One of
Absolutely.
the things
I heard it,
that
I was
Go
just
ahead.
I heard it alongside, which is probably why it just hit me even more. Again, so money isn't evil, it's the person that holds it. It's the same as a
Mhm,
knife. A knife isn't good or bad. A surgeon uses it to save lives, a murderer uses it to kill. So
mhm,
that really just drove it home to me. And I think, for me, it's even little things, right? My one of my beautiful friends, this is a little while ago now, but she was going through a really difficult time and they didn't actually separate, they're back together now, but she was having a trial separation from her husband, right? So that's not even like a health crisis or one of those major challenges in life. But because of money and because of the flexibility I've created within my work, I was able to just be there for her for a whole weekend, help her, yes, do a couple of things financially, but even just like the freedom of just being able to go, book it, go, be there, stay there with her, take like shift work. And I don't think we always think of those things when we think of money, right? We get into that cliche mindset of like, oh yeah, it's good or bad, da 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 da. But just thinking of like day-to-day scenarios. And again, recently I met with her, we had a holiday together and we spoke, and she said, like, that meant the world to me that you were just there in that moment. And yes, it's time, but it was also the finances that were able to give that freedom in doing it. So I think sometimes we forget like how much difference. And again, when we think of making a difference with money, you think about big contributions or big ways to give back. And that's amazing. I'm all for that. But we forget about the little day to day, but massively important moments that happen in people's
mhm.
life and our lives that finances help us be free and flexible and have choice in.
Oh, absolutely. It gives us I mean, I told someone in an earlier recording that for me, being wealthy is not only the money, it's the time and the freedom. It's being able to have that time and have that flexibility to be able to shift things and being able to have the money. My oldest is autistic, being able to have the money to put into an account for her to where she will have assistance to help take care of herself later. Those are huge. And yes, it's absolutely that it provides a big impact, right, on not just me, but for her and for future generations also going forward, right? And I
Brilliant.
think that's really, really important. Absolutely. You said one of the biggest lessons is simply facing it when it comes to money. Why is that step so powerful?
Well, first of all, to give it context, it comes from years of not facing it. So I just want to say that first, right? I've not been this person that's just been effortless with money. I think you've heard that a little bit already in this interview. I think like with anything in life, right? And of course, connected to, you said earlier, I'm a firewalk instructor. There's things that bring fear. And for me, a fear was, taxes, accounting, admin, managing money, understanding bills in life at some point. And I really genuinely struggled with it. Like, not only did I disengage, I just found it boring. It's not my skill set. I was like, out. I said earlier, I didn't value money, but I also just didn't have that mindset that was about like taxing and accounting. Side note, my dad's an accountant and we joke together. He says to me, I don't know how you do what you do. I don't understand it. And I say the same thing to him, right? So it's just different personalities and different ways of being. So for me, I would avoid at all costs. Like, I was that person that, like, it wasn't just a little stack of bills, right? My post for a year would be on a shelf somewhere. I just didn't face anything. But of course, like with anything, that at sometimes smacks you in the face and you have a backlash from it. But even
Mhm.
more than that, it doesn't allow you to really have that freedom of choice, creativeness, or run a business yourself in the future. So I think, again, it was just that connection to, do you want to live in this stuck fear of not facing something, or do you want to take a breath and walk the fire? Like, take a breath, face the bill, face the payment, face the steps that you need to take, both in life but also as an entrepreneur. And once you realize that, just like with anything else, like, there's a couple of scary steps that are like, oh, what do I do? How do I get my head around this? Blah, 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 blah. But then once you're in a pattern of it, and obviously today with like ChatGPT, AI, and accountants, like, most of it's done for you. So really, I think when you can just face it and go through that hard moment of like, yeah, this is uncomfortable, it's horrible, like, ugh. Like with most things, when you get to the other side, it feels good. You feel satisfied. And then you're in a space to grow from. Then you're in a space to expand. Then you're in a space to have more choice. So again, I'm not saying that it's easy, but it's connecting with what's on the other side of what you're procrastinating over facing. And when we really connect with what's on the other side, like, think of all the times in your life that you face something hard, like you, Lisa, but also all of your listeners right now. Think of something that you felt this way about. It was like,
Mhm.
oh, horrible. But you got through it and it felt better for getting through it. And you're here today with that as part of your story. So it's the same thing
Right,
with
right.
money.
Well, I
And
mean,
I think
getting
that's
to the
when you're
I
facing it.
right. I think that getting to the other side is important, and I think it's important to realize that sometimes our journeys are the way they are so that we can get to the other side because they're supposed to be part of our story. And I absolutely love, one, how authentic you are and how you share your story and your journey. And y'all, rewriting your money story and facing it, those things, we're not saying they're easy, and they're life changing. That's the only thing I can think of. They're life changing. And I think that if we sit down and we take the time to be honest with ourselves and do the things and do that work, then we realize that we can shift, whether stories from generations to generations, we can shift them,
Yeah.
right? I just think that's really important. This has been such a powerful conversation because money stories is not something, and money mindset is just not something that we just touch lightly. And I appreciate you talking about it and showing us how we can have that mindset and the fire to face it all, because I love how what you say you do, because I think that's like, "Oof, okay. Hmm."
That's just
Where can the
it, because it's that feeling, right? It's that feeling of
right,
panic, and then,
exactly,
because it shows up in
yeah.
our everyday life, whether
You
it's having a difficult conversation, writing the email, asking someone out on a date, facing your finances, whatever it is, that fear shows up. So, the fire is
well, I
just,
mean, it's important. I mean, I'm gonna say I can name all kinds of things of facing that where that'll come up. Where can my listeners connect with you, and can you share more about your free resource? I think it was called Now We Are Free.
yes, absolutely. So Now We Are Free is I was gonna say absolutely again, all about connecting what we've been speaking about in this episode. Like, your self-talk, your story. How do you speak to yourself? Is it in a disempowered way? How are you holding yourself back by the story that you keep repeating within your mind? Two, lovingly accepting where we are, because that's also what a lot of people do, right? Like, we compare where we want to go, so we beat ourselves up for where we are right now. So it's about being able to identify that disempowered story, lovingly accept where you are now, and then move into creating that self. And it's going to be different for all of you, but creating your own story, your internal dialogue that will support you, whether it's with your money story or relationship or overcoming fear. It's essentially an opportunity to program the story that you need. So, of course, listeners here in this space, your money mindset. What's the money story, the disempowered money story, and what's the new story? So it's a superpower visualization around
Oh, I
shifting
love it.
and creating
I
that.
love it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it, and because it's so important. So y'all, please go grab the free offer. And for all of you listening, if you're ready to face your money with the same confidence that you bring to the stage, it's time to book your wealth alignment call. We'll look at your money, your patterns, and your wealth strategies so that you can feel finally aligned with your numbers and with being that bold entrepreneur that I know you already are. The link is in the show notes. So let's align your money with your mission. Okay. And until next time, remember, confidence and cash are the ultimate power duo, as I always say. Go check in with your money. And as always, have a fantastic and wealthy day. Till next time.
Bye, everybody.